It's now time for us to usher in our guest and begin the discussions here this morning. And to do that, of course, as you have been following in the news, in a move to strengthen security cooperation among Sierra Leone and Liberia, Chairman of the West Africa Police Chiefs Committee, or WAPO, and Sierra Leone's Inspector General of Police, William Faraselu, has signed several security agreements with his counterpart, Honorable George Odobi Coleman of the Liberian National Police. These agreements aim to boost collaboration in the fight against organized crimes and other cross-border security threats in the sub-region. This important milestone was achieved under the leadership of the Inspector General of Police, William Faraselu. To discuss more on this and of course the new security partnership and what's the mean for Sierra Leone and Liberia, we've been joined by the spokesperson for the Sierra Leone Police, ASP Boyama Kama. Good morning, Police Media. Welcome to ACP. Amigo Pali Boyama Kama. Good morning, welcome to the program.
I know I was shocked, but
yes,
we are sorry for that.
Yes,
I'm only reminiscing the times when your deputy will be on our show, and then we'll call him ACP, and then for your case we want to call you ASP. But sorry for the little stronger. Now, of course, you've heard from our into. What does these agreements, are they really going to strengthen security within the two border nations?
Yeah, thank you for the time you have for us to discuss the issue. Firstly, we have to be very grateful to SMBC for giving us the platform to discuss the issue. We want to say in policing, especially when it comes to international security, we have to have what we call international cooperation. Somebody might be in Sierra Leone or somebody might be in Liberia on either of the countries and planning to commit a crime in Sierra Leone or Liberia or Guinea as the case may be. And we are aware of the fact that the Sahel region is very unstable, and the IGP, I'm talking about the IGP of Sierra Leone, thought that if we are within the Mano River Basin, we shouldn't allow that kind of disruption to take place within that Mano River Basin. So one way we can solve that one is by us cooperating with other police institutions. And so we thought of Liberia, invited him to come over so that we could have discussions on the range of issues, cross-border crimes, human trafficking, drugs, capacity building, and so on and so forth. So the IGP of Liberia came on the 17th. He came with a delegation of about 8 people, and 2 deputy inspector generals. We also have deputy commissioners and assistant commissioners. So they were all here. Whilst he was there, he had to visit, pay the courtesy call on the vice president, and incidentally is the chairman of police council, as provided for by section 156 of our constitution. So he had discussions with the vice president, and then he also had discussions with the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, where they discussed mutual legal assistance. And then he also had discussions with the Minister of Internal Affairs, who is our retired police officer, AIG, Moilego, Esquire. And then he also had discussions with the security sector, represented by the NSCOD, National Security Coordinator, Mr. Black Cocker, and a host of other personnel forming the security sector. And then he also had discussions with HE, the president, and then it was there they now decided that they must have these police chiefs for the Mano River Basin.
Okay.
And so they've been tasked, both of them, they've been tasked to ensure that they bring that one to fruition. So we are expecting that by February, the IGP is going to travel to Liberia, and by then we will have the IGP for Guinea, Ivory Coast, and Liberia, and then they will have to meet to finalize everything. Okay. And as a follow-up to that discussions we had last week, what is going to happen by next week, by the 1st of December, we are going to send 3 senior officers across to Liberia to engage the Liberian Police Force, Liberian National Police, on the issue of cross-border crimes. How do they conduct joint operations within the the two borders, or the borders of Sierra Leone and Liberia, as the case may be. So they are going to do what we call a planning meeting, and then put systems in place, like the issue of creating what we call liaison officers. And those liaison officers are going to be there provided with mobile phones to be providing intelligence, or to be providing information which you can process to intelligence, to either the police in Liberia or the police in Sierra Leone, and then we can work on those information, understand, to conduct our operations. So, and like I said, by February we expect the IGP to go now to Liberia so that they can concretize the argument for the police chiefs for the Mano River Basin. So basically we achieved a lot because we had commitment from both sides that they are going to cooperate. Instead of us resorting to work, say for example, to fighting when there are issues between Sierra Leone and Liberia, I think the best we could do is for us working together. When we work together, we cooperate and collaborate on issues regarding drugs, human trafficking, and those other cyber crimes as the case may be. I think things are going to be easier for us.
So let's talk on other agreements that were signed, because it stated that several agreements were signed between the IGP and also Honorable Gregory O.W. Coleman,
the
Liberian National Police.
We looked at the issue of capacity building, so that was one area. How we can exchange personnel, send them to Liberia for training or send them to Sierra Leone for training, so that we work together. So that was one agreement. We also looked at the issue of cyber security, cyber crimes and cyber security. How we can have a team, understand, working on the side of the Liberian side and also working on the Sierra Leone side, working together and making sure that when there are cyber related issues, they can both handle it seamlessly. And then we also looked at this cross-border. So this is why we are like now sending our operations man, the director of operations is going over there together with two other senior personnel to work on the issues of, because we want to be seeing the two countries conducting joint operations. So that was also this agreement. So those are some of the agreements we made, and we said we were going to keep the lines open.
So were there agreements with regards to the present state of drugs that is ravaging the West African, not only West Africa, the African continent?
Yes, we agreed to work together to make sure that we cannot allow, especially using our own borders, to take the drugs from Liberia or to take the drugs from Liberia to Sierra Leone. So for the fact that we now agreed that we should work together, it means if they have the intelligence, they can provide. It's not like somebody is going to name or shame a particular country. It's like now all of us coming together to make sure that we fight the drugs, especially, well, not only the drugs system, but even human trafficking. You know what coincidentally happened was that there were some people dragged, I want to put it that way, from Liberia to Sierra Leone. They were allowed and told that when they come here, you know, this QNet stuff, and they were based around Waterloo. That one was brought to the attention of the IGP, because that was the time we had to visit the Liberian embassy in Sierra Leone, and then the ambassador brought that one up, and then the IGP acted swiftly, and then those guys who brought them here, they were arrested, and then the Liberians were let go. They don't go back to their country, and let them continue with their life. So this is part of the agreement. Drugs, human trafficking, cyber security, operations, capacity building, all put together. We are part of the discussions.
Now, a lot of police media, of course, in as much as this particular visit culminated into the signing of several agreements, you agree with me that it's also a matter of experience sharing between the two sister nations. And of course, this is also coming at the backdrop when the Sierra Leone police is transitioning into a service rather than a force. What could possibly some of the lessons that the Liberia police force could learn from Sierra Leone in particular?
Well, I think that could be one, especially when you spoke about transition from a force to a service. I mean, they were happy about it, because we told them, when you are operating as a force, it's like you are the master. You being the police, you are the master. You know, and then we look at the people there as the servant. But when you transition, like what we are now doing, you become the servant and people become the master. So which means it's going to be like community-oriented policing. You have to bring the people on board in whatever you do. And in terms of operations and whatever policing activities you take, you always have to take cognizance of the fact that the people are there, and then you are doing it for the people themselves. So they were like pleased when we told them about the transition process.
Okay.
And the AG himself made reference to the fact that if you want to transition, I mean, you have to look at the legal aspect as well. And then we told them that we went to Ghana to do what we call a benchmarking visit. And that, during that visit, we learned a lot of things and we brought them home. And for now, as we speak, we've been able to review, if I should put it that way, the Police Act of 1964. We now wait the further processes to be undertaken so that the new act will come into being. I think the AG also spoke about the Criminal Procedure Act, which came into effect on, I think on the 16th of September 2025, but it's the Criminal Procedure Act of 2024, as the case may be. So those are things they learned from us. And then the issue of strategic development plan.
Okay.
That for after every 5 years or 3 years, we now have to develop a strategic development plan. We have a strategic priorities and how we make sure we execute those priorities. So they learned that one from us, and then they said they are now going to compare what they have and see where they can do some adjustments.
Alright, just before moving to another issue now, speaking about security matters is so very much important, and you can only do that in the brief moments in the program. Now, all of these are also happening at a time when the West Africa region is challenged with the proliferation of drugs and substance abuse, especially by young people. And it's becoming a wave, an intruder into society that really needs to be nipped at the bud. Now, what would be the role of WAPCO, which has been a creature of this very important visit, in as much as putting in place strategies to map out people that are really in the habit of drug and transorganized crimes in particular?
Well, WAPCO is a little bit broad, in the sense that it encompasses all countries within the Western, how do you call it?
West Africa.
So that is WAPCO. But for that one as well, we also have what we call the WAPIS, West Africa Police Information System, where we share information with all of the security institutions involved. But we want to narrow it down now. Like I said, the two IGPs, they decided that they must have what we call the police chiefs organization as well, like the one we have for WAPCO, for the Mano River Basin. Because when you have that one, you now ensure what we call international cooperation. Because whatever we might be doing here in Sierra Leone, and if we need the assistance of Guinea, they can come to our help. If we need the assistance of Ivory Coast, they can come to our help. And then if we also need the assistance of Liberia, they can also come to our help. But what is more important is the fact that Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, or Ivory Coast is not going to be a hiding place for any criminal. So you cannot commit a crime in Sierra Leone and then you go to Ivory Coast.
As there have been that commitment from the Guinean end.
And you think you are safe. Understand? We'll go and get you, because there is that kind of agreement. So this is why they are working to us. And by February, we expect them to meet in Liberia to get that one concretized.
Okay. Country still with us on the program is SCP Ibrahim Akama, is the spokesperson for the Sierra Leone Police Media. Well, we'll move on to another issue. As regional leaders in the Western Rural Area District say that since President Bio convened the high-level stakeholders meeting at State House to address the sale and abuse of kush and other substance abuses, the re-established Presidential Task Force has been working alongside various ministries, departments and agencies to tackle the crisis. But what role are these regional religious leaders playing to support the government fight against kush? Joining us this morning is Reverend Mohammed James from the Anglican Diocese of Freetown. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, my sister.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
So Reverend, there's a question here. What has been the role of religious leaders before we talk on the impact that the Presidential Task Force has been playing in the fight against kush? What has been your own contribution as religious leaders in the fight?
Thank you very much for having me again. I think previously I've been here. I think precisely it was last month. And in my previous discussion, I blame President Leo for not handling the issue of drugs seriously. And series of questions come out. I told my audience that he is our leader. We entrust everything into his hand. Our life, our security, everything is in his hand. So if anybody is to be blamed, President Leo is to be blamed. And after that discussion, after 2 days, I heard him over radio coming up with this very strong warning. That's another communication, because that shows that he is a president that can listen to the ordinary man. I need to commend him. I need to thank him for his timely intervention. And I also have to commend my brother here, the police. They have done a very good job, because formerly they were cracking on the victims, but now they are now targeting those who are importing these dangerous elements. That's another commendation. Let me come to our role now as religious leader. And previously we are limiting our sermons in our churches, but we decided that is not enough. We have people to talk to. Formerly we said it is not our business. We are not politicians, but now we know that it's our business. And if you allow your leaders to go bad, then the nation will suffer, because the Bible says when there's bad leadership, it will perish. So we decided to intervene, not limiting our sermons into our churches. We come out, and coming out, we talk against drugs, and that is why we are here. And if you go to the Waterloo district or my community where I'm residing, after my partnership with this Shepherd Hospice, the director there, he was here, my dear, and he has given me some support. We have to raise awareness, educational purposes, and we go to schools to engage school leaders. And really, I want to again commend President Bio for his intervention, because he has really invested in human capital. Because by paying school fees for the bulk of Sierra Leone's children, it's a very good idea. And an educated nation have a brighter future. But if we look at these ones inventing in them and they are taking drugs, then our economy or our resources is going into the drain. So therefore I want to commend him, and I want to also commend all stakeholders who have come together so that we can eradicate these dangerous drugs, kush and tramadol.
So how impactful has the presidential task force on kush and also the stakeholders involved been since the president gave out a stern warning with regards to the kush crisis, especially in Waterloo, where you reside?
Well, actually, I have seen the heavy presence of police, because I remember there was a ghetto within the Maguna axis, and that ghetto was demolished by the police. And I was at York last Sunday for a funeral service. I saw a heavy presence of police demolishing and ghettos, and I have seen series of stakeholders meeting within that district how to combat or eradicate kush. I think that's a good move. I want to appreciate them.
Now, Reverend James, of course, you are supported on our sister program Morning Coffee to suggest that you are working hand in glove with security apparatus, especially the CID police, to ensure that these people that are perpetrating the efforts of proliferating harmful substances and drugs in our communities are nipped out. How do you put together that delicate fine balance, because you are members of the church? Then how will you be working with security apparatus to enforce the law?
First, my brother, I want to say we are moral guarantors.
Okay.
If we fail, they will fail this nation. The entire nation will fail. And first, we cannot succeed without the police. I think we have to have dialogue. We have to have a memorandum of understanding. Without them, we cannot succeed. And without we, the police cannot succeed. I mean the ordinary citizen.
Okay.
For example, I said it in Morning Coffee,
yes,
that we, the citizen, will not cover somebody having drugs because he's my brother. We all have to be a watchdog to one another so that we can give accurate information to the police. But the police cannot work. Now you heard my brother say they are now having a community policing.
Okay.
So we have to disseminate messages to the police so that they can work on that.
Alright, so Reverend James, let's also have your thoughts. How have you also been working? Because like you said on our sister program Morning Coffee, you will work collaboratively with all sector players, and of course the task force now has the mandate to really ensure that it's rally around to galvanize the support it needs to really, bring this thing to something of the past. Now, I will also work with the victims of drug abuse. They are mostly in these communities that you exist.
I remember before this time coming to the radio, I personally, with some of my congregation, have been engaging them, giving them full items and non-full items. I remember I went to the bridge, we had a gather, and they used to call me, "Hey Rasta," I could. Now you don't want to get mine for Canterbury. We discuss, we encourage. As I'm saying, I have 6 of them in my church, and one is now at the Freetown Polytech. She's secondary. Yeah. So I think we have to engage them. We don't have to discriminate them. We have to encourage them and we integrate them into society. They are our children. They are our brothers. That is the responsibility of every religious leader. We should not just limit our sermons into the church. Let's go out there. There are people perishing who are dying. What the future holds for this country? If those the government is investing in or become drug takers or they abuse drug, if they all die, who is going to replace my police officer here? Who is going to replace me? Who is going to replace me? So we have to come collectively together so that we can see how we can eradicate and then maintain the future of our next generation.
So as religious leaders, what has been your level of collaboration with the community people, apart from your church or the set of people you interact with, the community at large, because they play an important role in fighting the kush in the country?
And that's why before engaging myself in the discussion or before blaming the national leadership, I have engagement with various of headmen within the Waterloo axis. For example, the Keriton, the Kotopema, the McDonough. I think they have a role to play. I think at McDonough, our headman, H.M. Ovia, has been supportive. In fact, he has already made a bylaw. If you are caught with kush, that is selling kush, there is no option. You will be taken to the police and there must be just cause. So I have been in collaboration with them, I have engaged them, we have talked, we have dialogue, so that we can all come on board to eradicate this thing once and for all.
Reverend James, as well as a religious cleric, really want to describe this crisis, this national crisis, as an attack to the nation.
It's an attack. It's a devilish attack. It's ravaging this nation. Really, if time is not taken, then we have no area to head for the nearby future. Truly speaking, the devil is playing an active role to bring us down, but collectively as citizens. I'm not talking about the president now, I'm not talking about the police, but collectively, myself, yourself, our local chiefs, the herbalists, everybody in society, we have a role to play.
You know, the reason why that question is very much important, because like you said in your opener, you are among the very first to come public to blame political leaders to really take the needed action to really remedy the situation. From that point on, do you think that the church played the much needed role it should have played?
Yes, but the problem here and the political leaders has not considered the religious leaders as essential workers.
Okay.
For example, when Ebola was here, Corona was here, they just targeted the police and the soldiers, the medical officers, but we are also essential workers. For me sitting here, and my message to my congregation goes a long way. I go and so Reverend say, people see me as a moral guarantor. So I think the political leaders have to consider us as moral essential workers. Okay. We are talking about the presidential task force. I don't know who are the members of those presidential task force. Do we have any religious leader in that presidential task force? This is my question. Because we have the power to influence people. One way or another, Sierra Leone, we have 2 religions. Though we have 3. We have Muslim, we have Christian, and we have our African traditional religion. But the most dominant one are Muslim and Christian. So we have a role to play. So if we are incorporated into decision making for the state, then we have our way out.
Okay, so you said you have plans of collaborating with stakeholders involved, and you said you will be doing awareness raising with regards to this. How do you plan on sourcing the necessary funds? Because many a time we host religious leaders here and they'll tell you they don't have funds and such things involve money. So how do you plan on doing that as a member of the Anglican Diocese of Freetown?
Previously, and we got this phone from my congregation, well wishers, and the executive director of Shepherd of Space. Though we don't have enough fund, but we are trying our level best, and we are hoping and some mindful Sierra Leoneans will come to our aid so that we can see how we can fight this thing out.
Okay. Introduced to us on the program is Reverend Mohammed James from the Anglican Diocese of Freetown.
Of course, we want to remind our esteemed viewers that this program will be cut short in a little bit within the course of the program, joining our outside broadcast team for a live coverage. Before that, over to you, please, the one, ACP Ibrahim Kama. And of course, this particular visit did not only culminate into signing of agreement, but of course, there was this tete-a-tete conversation between that of Honorable Coleman and the IG William Farcel, that you know, it's going to be a kind of a partnership makeup whereby the Liberian police force will not only learn from us, but there will be that joint border patrol or joint security operations in the not too distant future. How will that happen?
Well, this is why we are now traveling to Liberia on the 1st of December, so that we can put those guys who are going. They are going to work with the team over there, and then they plan the program. So, it's going to be continuous. It's like we have it, not like one off something. You have this cross-border joint patrol or whatever you call it. You just say, well, after today, we are not going to have another one. No, it's going to be continuous.
Okay.
And so it has to be properly planned. So this is why we are sending across our own director of operations together with other people who are fast in operations. So they are going to sit with the Liberian team and then discuss, and then they will come out with the blueprint. And then we are now going to follow that blueprint over time, so that our own area and their own area are always safe. And we'll continue to make sure that people can traverse from one area to another without having to go through the usual hassles. And for those guys who are like bad people to Liberia or bad people to Sierra Leone, they will find a way to meet them. You know, nab them, and then we make sure we bring them before the law. And don't forget, in democracy, no matter the circumstance, the rule of law always prevails. So we want to bring them before the law and see what the judicial system is going to do, because they have the responsibility to interpret the law and to even punish lawbreakers. I always tell people, the police, we do not have that power. Okay. But people think we have the power to punish people. Taking somebody in custody doesn't mean you are punishing that person. It is provided for by law that we can detain somebody whilst being investigated, but that's not punishment. You know, the punishment comes from the court. When you are taken there and somebody says, or the judge or the magistrate says you are now sentenced to 5 years imprisonment, that's the punishment. So people normally, oh, I want to take him to the police, so that the police will just lock him up. No, we are not there to punish people. We are there to play our own part within the criminal justice system, which is a kind of tripartite arrangement. We have the police as the first arm, and then we have the judiciary, and then we also have the correctional service. So we are play our own part. And how do we play our own part? We make sure we conduct, we do the arrest, we detain within that period. If we should detain, we conduct investigations, we can search, and then we can take to court to prosecute. And then we now leave it to the judiciary to do their own part. But we also have to support them, we have to complement them, because if you take somebody to court by law, you have to provide the required evidence for that offense, for the offense for which the person has been charged. You provide the required evidence so that at the end of the day, that person could be convicted. You know, and then after the conviction, you now expect them to play their part proper. They can now say you can go to jail for 10 years, but they cannot act ultra fast. But this is also another area we normally have problem. People think, oh, because it's law, you can just send him to, you know, we have the National Control Act of 2008. You know, Section 7, Section 8, Section 9, Section 10. These ones are these are very important sections. You understand that for Section 8, Section 7 itself, the offenses listed there, whether import, export, shipment, and all the rest of it. I mean, the highest form of punishment you can talk about there is what we call life imprisonment.
Okay.
But for Section 8, I mean, you can go up to 10 years and you can be fined. But again, we also need to know, like, everyone was referring to victims.
Okay.
If you look at the jail, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are not committing offenses. Those guys who we refer to as the consumers. You know, if you look at the chain, we have the manufacturers or producers, and then we have the wholesalers, those who buy in bulk, and then we have the retailers, those who sell 1, 2, 3 as the case may be, and then we have the consumers, the one who does the intake. So Section 8 itself provides for that if you take that drugs, understand, you buy it, it's an offense. But you know, but the act is very clear. It provides for education, it provides for aftercare, it provides for social reintegration, it provides for rehabilitation. So we are making use of all those provisions to ensure that even though you are part of the chain, but we now have to treat you differently. We don't also take all of them to Panama Road. We don't fill up Panama Road places. So for them to treat them separately, we can send them to rehabilitation centers. Maybe we can allow them to do some work, or maybe we send them for treatment, as the case may be. So that's provided for by the law itself.
SCP Gramakama, just before SRPC, you know, there is this aspect of your robust action so far as cracking down on drug cartels and very obvious points where this supply or proliferation of these harmful substances transition to or sent into the public. Were you able to as well discuss your community policing strategy with the Liberian counterparts, because that has really helped insofar as providing intelligence to the Sierra Leone police, which you readily use to enforce the law?
We did that. In fact, it was part of our session.
Okay.
They provided 2 of their personnel, and we provided 3, and then they had that one-on-one discussion on community policing. We gave them our own model that we are practicing, what we call local-based policing. Local-based policing is just a variant of community. Community policing is a broader concept. But during the restructuring program of Salon Police, we now decided that we have to design our own style of policing, referred to as local-based policing. And local-based policing, by the definition provided there, so we say it's policing that meets the needs and expectations of local communities. Meets the needs and expectations of local communities.
Okay.
But those needs and expectations, they must reflect national standards and objectives. So we wouldn't say because we want the police people the way they want us to police them, then which means we have to allow them to be selling drugs over there. No, it doesn't meet national needs and objectives, because the state is against somebody who's a partaker of drugs, or somebody who's abusing drugs, or somebody who's selling it, or who's transporting it. So that one we cannot provide. So we told them that from that local police, we now have what we call the local command unit. Normally what we call the police division. Say for example, Harbour Division, Kobo Coast Division is a local command unit. And that local command unit is headed by people. But the head there is the local unit commander. You understand? And within that local unit commander now, we now have what we call the local policing partnership board, where we have the TCG, the Task and Coordinating Group, and the Ops Officer, the Crime Officer, the FSU leader, all those leaders within the police facet, they all meet together with the civilians to discuss security challenges within their localities, and then provide solutions. So we told them that model, and then they accepted it, and then we are also looking at their own model and see how we can seamlessly operate without having recourse to some other things which are not good.
Okay, so Leone, now we have beautiful agreements signed by the Sierra Leone Police and the Liberian Police. How will the Sierra Leone Police ensure that these agreements that are signed and the people of Sierra Leone actually benefit, especially with regards the security aspect, especially in the border point?
They are going to benefit because we have an obligation. I'm just thinking of an obligation under Section 5, subsection 2B of our Constitution. That obligation is very clear. The government has its own responsibility to provide safety, security, welfare, as the case may be. But now we now have the duty, understand, to provide for the security of the people. the police, the military, and other agencies involved in security. So we are going to make sure that the law says, under the Police Act of 1964, the current law, that we must protect lives and property. So because we have the onus to protect lives and property, we are going to ensure that the agreement we signed with our Liberian counterpart, we are going to make sure we get that one up and running. Yeah? It's going to be up and running, and we will follow it to the latter in the name of protecting lives and property of our people.
Okay. So Leone, before we leave you, there's this disturbing documentary done by the BBC Media Action with regards to human trafficking. As Sierra Leone police seen that video, and as they
yes, we saw it, and I even discussed this morning with my IGP, and we are viewing it, and we want to come out with what to call a strategic response, maybe from the national level or the police level or whichever level. We want to view it, and then we want to determine the veracity and authenticity of what is contained there in that video. But we don't want to rush it to make a statement. But we determine, we look at the veracity of it, the authenticity of it, and then but all I can tell you for now is that those things, some of the things discussed there are not common necessarily. I was expecting them to tell us something very specific, but I don't want to beat the gun. Let's wait and see the response that's going to come from at the government level, at the police level, and security generally. So we will respond to it. We will respond to it adequately and appropriately.
So quickly again, before you go, police media chief, you know, your role in the National Task Force setup is not only to crack down on illicit places where you can find people who are in the business of buying or selling or transmitting this harmful drug into society. Your role is to assert security at all fronts. How well will you not see a situation of +2 -2 insofar as how you go about carrying this? Because how do you see when you go to these communities, you crack down on these communities, sometimes even before you have a tip-off from the public, even before you get there is an intelligence to the people as well, and you might go there, you find minimal of what's your interest. So people are really cascading information even before you get there. So you begin to see there's a challenge insofar as how you work with the public to enforce the law.
Yeah, well, the public is one side of it, where the public encompasses either the police, marketing, taxi drivers. So we're all part of the public. We're all part of it. So within the police circle, what we've been doing is to ensure that our own guys, you know, sometimes you work with people but they are moles. We have to be very honest. Understand?
I think for once you've attested to that.
Yeah, honestly. So those ones we try to weed them out. So this is why whenever we have press conferences, police officers we lay hands on who are involved in the trade, we beat them to. It's not like whether somebody calls it naming and shaming, but we let the public know that we are not condoning this one.
So you have eyes on them?
Yes, we have eyes on them. So this is why the commanders are very tough on the ground. I'm using the word tough for a certain reason I cannot explain, but they are very tough on the ground. Sometimes we give them information.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I know. He's a very fluent speaker, and of course he's very sophisticated. Defend police in whatever instance is given the platform to do so. We appreciate your insights this morning. He's ACP Brian Kamara, the head of police media. Quickly over to you, Reverend James. Your parting shots. Of course, you have taken a stance to really come forward as a church, to embrace the fight against the drug abuse in the country. And in that tough action you've taken as a church, you are not reneging in your role as religious clerics. How far will we see you go with this fight?
Well, to be precise, it is an ongoing fight.
Okay.
That we can see the end. A successful end. I know with the help of our partners, the security apparatus and government and all citizens involved
Okay.
will reach our mark by the grace of God.
Okay. Thank you very much, Reverend Muhammad James from the Anglican Diocese of Freetown. Well, viewers, we move on to another segment of the program.
Certainly, the review of the front pages of our local tablet. For that, I begin with the satellite newspaper. It opens with a headline: for 2 consecutive years at the top of the sector, SLPHA dominates NTA rankings for 2025. And to go with that story is a portrait of the Director General of SLPHA, Yakuba Askalbio. In the Chamber of Parliament, Friday is 2026 government budget speech. Police introduces standalone communication network. How stories you can find on the satellite newspaper.
The Parameters banner headline says, Gokial Commercial Bank wins prestigious award at Morocco Symposium. / President vows no journalist will face TID interrogation for their work, and government APC hold key talks on electoral reforms. These stories and many more you can find on the Parameter newspaper.
My next pick from the Parameters is the exclusive newspaper. It opens with the banner headline: DID wants SLPP. APC Agbaz meets Anthony General. Upcoming elections will not be business as usual. During its AGM, SLRU recognizes NRA. All stories you can find on your exclusive newspaper.
Well, A to Z newspaper banner headline says, Foreign Affairs Minister chats a new path for Africa at DDR conference. President Bio calls for a new AU-EU partnership based on mutual respect and shared responsibility. At YFM training, NPPA CEO shares key procurement insights with West African practitioners, and SLPHA honored with Special Achievement Award at 2025 IBJ ceremony. These stories and many more you can find on the A to Z newspaper.
Okay, from the A to Z newspaper, my last and final pick is Awoko newspaper. Awoko newspaper has on its front page: join the conversation, the truth every man in Sierra Leone must face while men stand against female genital mutilation. Mnet pays over 2.3 million in surface rents to 3 chiefdoms. Councillor on trial for alleged cyber campaign against MP. Teach tech should work for people, not silence. I beg your pardon. Spanish ambassador warns AI must not supplement human journalism. I believe it's a big story for journalists. That's all you can find on Awoko newspaper.
Well, my final pick is the Pyramid newspaper, and its banner headline states, World Bank warns of rising debt risk in Sierra Leone. Africa must benefit from its minerals, says View. SLRU rewrites 21-year-old constitution, and HRCSL commemorates World Children's Day. These stories and many more you can find on the Pyramid newspaper. But viewers, we must quickly note that these headlines read out does not reflect the views of the SLBC, but we're merely reviewing them. Well, on that note, that's how we draw the curtains of Good Morning Sierra Leone that came to you from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. Many thanks to our producer, William Wise. Good Morning Sierra Leone returns tomorrow. I have been Esther Sako.
And I'm Dennis Fraser.